Sigma males, have you ever wondered why people misunderstand you, even when you understand yourself the least? Why the world labels you as cold, distant, or mysterious when, in truth, you're simply focused, free, and fiercely independent? Here's the bold truth: Sigma males don't always fully comprehend their own depth, and that's exactly what makes them so captivating and powerful. The Sigma male isn't a stereotype. He's not a trend. He's a psychological phenomenon, a force that operates beyond the traditional dominance hierarchy. In a world divided into alphas and betas, the Sigma chooses a different path altogether, charting his own course, guided by inner values and principles rather than external pressures or societal norms. This isn't about arrogance, it's about autonomy. Studies in psychology often link the Sigma archetype with high introversion, high openness, and assertiveness, minus the obsession with controlling others. This rare combination creates a man who doesn't seek dominion over people, only mastery over himself. So why are Sigma males misunderstood? Because society is hardwired to categorize. When you don't fit into a box, when you reject labels and walk a path that doesn't conform, people assume the worst. They call you cold, detached, or antisocial, when in reality, you're deeply introspective and rooted in self-discovery. Sigma males don't stay silent because they're shy. They stay silent because silence is their strategy, a calculated space where clarity emerges. They don't reject the world, they observe it, dissect it, and understand it with precision. Here's the twist most Sigma males don't realize about themselves: your quietness intimidates. Your independence intrigues. Your unpredictability commands respect. You don't shout for attention because your very presence demands it. Today, we're diving deep into the Sigma male lifestyle, exploring why you walk alone, why silence is your language, and why this misunderstood path is one of quiet dominance. Because what Sigma males often fail to recognize is this: your greatest strength is not being understood, it's being felt, deeply, without saying a word. Hey, lone wolves, welcome back to the channel where solitude is strength, and the lone path is the only path worth walking. If you're a true lone wolf, this is your den. Smash that like button, subscribe, and stick around as we break down the code of the Sigma male, one powerful insight at a time. Number 1, you're hardwired for depth, not drama. Have you ever wondered why small talk feels like a waste of breath? Why superficial conversations about the weather or the latest reality show leave you drained, disconnected, or disinterested? It's not because you're arrogant or awkward. It's because your energy is aligned for depth, not distraction. You crave meaning, not noise. Sigma males are built for depth. They seek connections that matter, conversations that stir the soul, challenge the mind, and spark a flame deep within. You don't have time for shallow exchanges that skim the surface. What you want is resonance. What you long for is significance. What you seek is truth. Here's the tension: not everyone operates at that level. Studies in psychology have found that only a small percentage of people are drawn to deep, introspective conversations. Most stay in the comfort zone of casual, predictable banter, and for a Sigma, that's suffocating. You were never meant for shallow connections. You were built for depth, purpose, and precision. To the world, this can be misread. People often mistake your silence for coldness, your selectivity for elitism, your quiet strength for disinterest. But the truth is far from that. You're not cold, you're controlled. You've mastered the rare ability to govern your emotions, to measure your words, to discern when silence says more than any speech ever could. Modern neuroscience confirms this. The brains of deep thinkers are more active in areas like the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain associated with self-control, long-term planning, and reflection. You're not built for surface noise. You're built for deep resonance. You don't speak to fill silence, you speak to create meaning. So own this about yourself. You were never meant to be everyone's cup of tea. You were meant to be the flame in a world too timid to burn. That quiet strength you carry? It's not a weakness. It's a gift. Let others wait in the shallow end, you were built for the depths. Number 2, you're not escaping the world, you're mastering it. A lot of people misunderstand Sigma males. They assume that when a Sigma steps back, when he withdraws from the noise, he's running away. They call it avoidance, ghosting, or isolation, like he's afraid to face life. But here's the truth: Sigma males aren't escaping anything, they're evolving. There's a huge difference between disappearing and ascending. What the world sees as vanishing is really a Sigma shifting into a higher frequency, a space beyond distractions and meaningless connections. He doesn't fade into the background, he chooses a higher vantage point, away from the noise and nonsense that others often mistake for belonging. Sigma males aren't hiding. They're observing. They aren't afraid, they're simply disinterested in the superficialities that dilute their focus. When a Sigma walks away, it's not because he can't handle a situation. It's because that situation no longer deserves his energy. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. Most people stay stuck in relationships, spaces, or habits that drain them because silence terrifies them. But a Sigma embraces silence. He knows that stillness is where the best ideas arise. It's where strategy lives. It's not a retreat, it's a recalibration. In fact, science confirms this. Studies in psychology have shown that moments of solitude can sharply enhance productivity, creativity, and mental clarity. For a Sigma male, solitude isn't loneliness, it's a tool for transformation. It's where he reflects, resets, and refocuses. While others search outward for validation, the Sigma searches inward for growth. That's why when he reappears, he's stronger, sharper, and more focused than ever before. Each exit is calculated. Every step back is intentional. What the world doesn't realize is that when a Sigma disappears, he's not disconnecting from life, he's reconnecting with himself. What people call vanishing is really a quiet revolution. And when he returns, it's not just noticed, it reshapes the space he inhabits. Number 3, you underestimate your influence. Sigma males don't flex. They don't boast. They don't chase. But make no mistake, there is a quiet, undeniable power in their silence. In a world where everyone is clamoring for attention, desperate for applause, and chasing external validation, the Sigma male operates differently. He doesn't need to raise his voice to be heard. He doesn't have to put on a performance to be noticed. It's not arrogance, it's presence. And that presence speaks volumes. When a Sigma walks into a room, something shifts. The atmosphere changes. The energy in the space reconfigures itself, and people notice, often before he says a single word. He doesn't make a scene. He doesn't dominate the conversation. Yet somehow, he becomes the person everyone is aware of. This isn't magic. It's psychology. Studies have shown that nonverbal cues, body language, and quiet confidence can carry more weight than words ever will. A person who is composed, still, and self-assured often commands more respect than someone shouting for it. The Sigma male has mastered this quiet dominance. He has refined the ability to let silence speak for itself. Here's where it becomes fascinating. While the Sigma thinks he's blending into the background, he's often the one everyone is watching. The quiet, mysterious nature of a Sigma male doesn't make him invisible, it makes him captivating. The restraint he shows sparks curiosity. The questions arise naturally. Why doesn't he speak more? What's going on in that mind? What is his story? The unknown becomes magnetic, and that is where the Sigma's true influence lies. In psychology, this is called the mystery effect, the idea that people are more drawn to those they can't easily decipher. In a world flooded with noise, silence becomes a force. In a space where everyone is trying to prove themselves, the Sigma stands apart by doing nothing more than being present. His silence doesn't make him irrelevant, it makes him unforgettable. So to every Sigma male out there thinking no one notices, understand this, they do notice. They do remember. They do wonder how you carry yourself with such quiet strength. This is your edge. This is your signature. It's not about trying to stand out, it's about being too authentic, too composed, too unshakable to be ignored. In a world of noise, your silence is a statement. And that's not weakness. That's power, the kind that doesn't have to prove itself, because it simply is. Number 4, you think you're a loner, but you're a leader in disguise. The path you walk in silence isn't a punishment, it's a platform. You're not just alone, you're an example. The solitude you carry isn't a mark of weakness, it's a symbol of strength. In a world obsessed with belonging, those rare few who can walk their own path, unshaken and unbothered, become icons of independence. While others are desperate for applause and external affirmation, you've learned to turn inward for direction. And that shift, from looking outwards for validation to looking inward for purpose, makes you magnetic. People watch you. Not because you're the loudest or the flashiest, but because your presence doesn't beg for attention. It doesn't seek an audience. It commands respect. Psychologists call this emotional autonomy, one of the highest forms of human maturity. It's the ability to respond rather than react, to observe rather than absorb, to lead by example rather than by force. In a world that bows to conformity, your quiet strength is a beacon. You teach others, consciously or not, that you don't have to fit in to rise above. You don't shout to be noticed. You don't demand loyalty or followers. You simply carry yourself with a grace that draws the right people to your side. You don't bark commands, you embody them. You don't talk about discipline, you live it. And that's where your true power lies. Not in making noise, but in making a difference. Not in chasing followers, but in carving a path for others to find themselves. In doing so, you redefine what leadership means. You transform from a lone wolf into a quiet force, a living map for those searching for more than the shallow distractions the world has to offer. You're not just walking your own path for yourself, you're illuminating it for others. And that's a legacy worth leaving. Number 5, you don't chase respect, you command it. You don't chase admiration. You don't build your life around applause or seek external validation. Yet paradoxically, people respect you not despite your detachment, but because of it. This is the paradox of the Sigma male. In a world flooded with noise, performance, and desperate self-promotion, your silence becomes a statement. Your stillness becomes magnetic. While others broadcast their highlight reels hoping for a reaction, you operate with precision, purpose, and restraint. That very refusal to play the superficial game is what rewrites the rules. Humans are naturally drawn to what they can't easily comprehend, to what doesn't openly advertise itself. And that's where your powerful detachment creates its first ripple. You don't overshare. You don't justify your choices or force connections. You don't beg for understanding, and you certainly don't crave applause. Instead, your quiet presence sparks intrigue. Throughout history, the most captivating icons, Bruce Lee, James Dean, Keanu Reeves, weren't admired because they yelled the loudest or molded themselves for the spotlight. They were admired because of an aura of mystery, a quiet, grounded strength that made others wonder, what lies beneath the surface? Your consistency is another paradox that deepens this allure. In a world where people shift between masks, moods, and trends, you remain a fixed point, anchored, disciplined, and unshakable. You don't show up for an audience. You show up for your vision, your path, and your purpose. And when people witness someone who doesn't waver or compromise for applause, trust naturally follows. That trust doesn't arise from words. It emerges from being a person who doesn't seek to impress, but to live authentically. You don't prove yourself to the world. You simply exist with intensity, making no apologies for who you are or what you stand for. That's why your presence lingers long after you've left a room. You don't imprint by shouting for attention, you do it by drawing inward, mastering your space, your time, and your mind. In a world where everyone is trying to fit in, you stand apart, and people notice. Even if they can't articulate why, they feel it. You become the silent force, the unspoken standard, the one who can dominate a room without ever raising your voice. Number 6, your emotional detachment is emotional mastery. People call you cold, distant, or detached, but what they fail to understand is that you're not numb. You're not emotionless. You're intentional. You're not incapable of feeling deeply. In fact, you often feel more than most. The difference is that you don't spill those feelings all over the floor for cheap validation. You manage them. You channel them. You master them. While others explode in anger or collapse into despair, you stay composed. You pause, observe, analyze, and calibrate your emotions before responding. You don't allow feelings to hijack your behavior. Neuroscience confirms this. When you engage your prefrontal cortex, the decision-making center of the brain, you operate with higher emotional intelligence. What some call detachment is, in reality, a highly evolved form of self-control. In an age obsessed with instant gratification and addiction to noise, clickbait, drama, and digital outrage, your calm, measured demeanor becomes a beacon. You operate from a higher frequency, rooted in stoicism, discipline, and clarity, rather than getting swept away by every wave of chaos. It's not that you don't care. It's that you care too much about preserving your energy for what truly matters. You understand that not every person, not every situation, and not every moment deserves access to your inner world. You protect your focus and your boundaries, not out of coldness, but out of wisdom. Think of it like a martial artist. A warrior doesn't draw their sword for every slight. They save their precision for the moments that matter. Similarly, you don't react out of impulse. You respond with intention. You save your emotional depth for moments, causes, and people that deserve it. That doesn't make you cold. It makes you powerful. The loudest person in the room is often the weakest, reliant on noise to mask their vulnerability. The person who can stay centered, composed, and in command of their feelings is the one who truly wins in the long run. In the end, it's not about being emotionless, it's about being emotional with discipline. Not about avoidance, but about integration. Not about being detached from life, but about being deeply rooted within yourself. The one who can walk calmly through a storm is the one people will follow when the skies darken. Number 7, you're attracting more than you know. Even when you think you're off the grid, people notice. Not because you seek attention, but precisely because you don't. In a world flooded with noise, your silence is deafening. In a room where everyone is trying to be seen, your calm, composed presence creates a gravitational pull. While others broadcast every moment of their lives, you're living intentionally, quietly, and with purpose. And that quiet strength? It doesn't just draw eyes, it captures them. This is the paradox of the Sigma male. You're not trying to lead, yet others naturally follow. You're not chasing admiration, yet others can't help but respect. You're not seeking attention, yet attention finds you. From a psychological standpoint, this is rooted in the scarcity principle. People assign more value to that which is rare and hard to access. The less you give away, the more intriguing you become. You don't flood the room with words. You fill it with presence. You don't beg for validation, and that very absence of desperation creates magnetic allure. To others, you're an enigma, a mystery they can't solve. The less you try to attract, the more magnetic you become. The more you stay rooted in who you are, the more compelling you appear. In a world that demands conformity, being unapologetically yourself is an act of quiet revolution. That silence? It's not coldness. It's calculation. You observe. You assess. You move when it counts. What the world misreads as apathy is actually precision. What it misconstrues as detachment is the foundation of power. Real influence doesn't scream, it echoes. And now that you understand the depth of your design, it's time to fully embrace it. The world is a chessboard, and every move you make matters. Number 8, you're building in silence. While others boast every win and broadcast every move, you don't feel the need to make noise. You don't crave applause because you understand a deeper truth. Power doesn't announce itself, it emerges when it's ready. True strength doesn't beg for validation. It operates quietly, methodically, and with precision. In a world obsessed with likes, views, and constant self-promotion, your silence is a quiet form of rebellion. You recognize that the loudest person in the room is often trying to compensate for what they lack within. In fact, psychology confirms this. Studies reveal that overcompensation is a common trait of insecure individuals, those who broadcast every victory to mask deeper feelings of inadequacy. But the Sigma male doesn't operate that way. You build. You plan. You move like a master chess player, thinking 10 moves ahead while others are still reacting to the moment. What appears to some as detachment is, in reality, focus. What others perceive as absence is actually strategy. Research in fields like entrepreneurship and elite sports shows a common thread among top performers: they work relentlessly behind the scenes. They hone their craft, sharpen their instincts, and refine their approach away from the spotlight until it truly matters. This mindset is rooted in more than ambition, it's about alignment. It's about making sure every action, every sacrifice, every quiet moment serves a higher purpose. That's your signature. That's what separates you from those chasing temporary applause. While others post their victories, you live for mastery. You build for legacy. You pursue precision over performance. This isn't ego. It's discipline. It's efficiency. It's mastery. And by the time the rest of the world realizes what you've built, it's too late for them to catch up. Number 9, you value peace over drama. While others feed off chaos, you seek clarity. The Sigma male knows that peace is more than a state of mind, it's a currency, one he spends intentionally and protects fiercely. You don't measure strength by how well you dominate a scene, win an argument, or raise your voice. True strength is measured by how well you can walk away from situations that no longer serve you, how quietly you can maintain your composure when the world begs for a reaction, and how effectively you can guard your energy from being wasted. To a Sigma, silence is not a sign of disinterest or weakness, it's an assertion of mastery. It's a reminder that you're in control of yourself, regardless of how unpredictable or toxic others may behave. You don't bite every hook thrown your way, because you understand that reacting to meaningless provocations gives away your power. Instead, you save that energy for moments that matter, moments that align with your purpose, your values, and your long-term growth. In a world that celebrates noise and aggression, your peace becomes a statement. In a society that thrives on spectacle and impulsivity, your restraint becomes revolutionary. You're not cold. You're calculated. Not detached, but deliberate. Not avoiding, but prioritizing. In a room where others shout to be heard, you remain composed, knowing that a quiet voice often holds the greatest weight. That's the Sigma way, making silence a weapon, making peace a badge of honor, and knowing deep down that a calm, unshakable presence will always dominate over the loud and reactive. Number 10, you redefine success on your terms. To a Sigma male, success doesn't reside in external applause or superficial markers of worth. You don't measure it by titles, salaries, or accolades granted by others, because you understand that these are temporary, borrowed measures that can be taken away as quickly as they are granted. True success, for you, is defined by internal metrics, the depth of your discipline, the quality of your character, and the clarity of your purpose. While the rest of the world operates by a superficial scoreboard, likes, followers, promotions, or status symbols, you operate by a deeper standard rooted in integrity, resilience, and mastery of self. You have no desire to compete for a place in someone else's race or win a medal in a game you didn't design. Instead, you carve your own lane and move forward with precision, knowing that the only person worth beating is the version of yourself you were yesterday. You don't wait for permission to claim victory. You create it. You don't rise for the applause of the crowd, nor do you sink when overlooked. You rise for the conviction within, aligning every thought, action, and intention with a higher purpose. You understand that winning is internal, about defeating doubt, resisting distractions, and showing up every day to build a life that feels true. That's the Sigma way, to redefine success as a state of being, not a status to display. To measure worth by the richness of character, the strength of conviction, and the clarity of a mission that needs no external validation. In a world chasing shallow victories, you pursue a deeper one, mastery over yourself. And that, more than anything, is the ultimate win. Number 11, you respect boundaries, including your own. The Sigma male knows that boundaries are sacred. You respect others' space and expect the same in return. You understand that saying no is just as vital as saying yes, and that honoring your limits is a form of strength. In a world that pushes for accessibility, availability, and overexposure, you recognize that true power lies in knowing when to step back, when to walk away, and when to guard your energy. People often misread your boundaries as coldness or arrogance. But in reality, this is self-respect at its highest form. You protect your peace like a fortress, knowing that the right people will respect your boundaries, and the wrong people will be offended by them. You owe the world your best self, not unrestricted access. Number 12, you lead by example, not by announcement. The Sigma male doesn't need a title to lead, nor a crowd to justify his worth. True leadership is quiet, built on consistency, discipline, and integrity. You don't have to broadcast your victories or justify your choices. You simply live them. You don't rally people with speeches or slogans. You draw them in with the sheer force of your character. Those who watch closely understand this. They recognize that you're not trying to dominate a room or win a race. You're creating a path, one that others can follow if they have the courage and conviction to walk it. The Sigma doesn't seek followers, yet others instinctively fall in line, inspired by a man who needs no spotlight because he is the light. Final thought, the Sigma way. In a world of noise and chaos, where attention is treated like currency, the Sigma male chooses silence, depth, and authenticity. You walk a path few understand, and fewer can emulate. Yet that's precisely where your strength lies, in your refusal to conform, in your ability to stand alone, and in your mastery over self. Remember this, the Sigma doesn't rise by competing with others. He ascends by conquering himself. He doesn't seek to dominate people, but to illuminate truths. He doesn't measure victory by applause, but by the peace and purpose he carries within. If you recognize yourself in these words, it's because you already understand the code. Stay sharp. Stay centered. Stay Sigma. The world doesn't need more noise, it needs more men like you. Let your silence speak, let your character lead, and let your life stand as a testament to a strength that no one can replicate and no one can take away. Stay sharp. Stay true. Stay lone wolves.